Alrighty, what's going on, ladies and gents? So today we got a good show for you. As promised, the state of black finances in America. I got a good friend of mine, Israel Dartikanov. I went to school with Israel back in Atlanta. We've been good friends for, I want to say, going on 10 years now, close
Years.
to it. That's intense. That's intense. So here's the outline of our show today. We're going to be going over primarily stories that we've seen in our own lives with blacks and finances. I myself am an American-born brother, LA raised, and my friend Israel is Haitian. Haitian, not Haitian American, but Haitian living in America. He brings a very unique flavor to the experience. So we're going to be primarily talking about our stories, what we see, and then I have some data points that I took from McKinsey and the Bureau of Labor. So first thing I just want to just tackle it right on is that what I see in the black community is there actually is no community, at least among the Americans, right? It's like families are ripped apart. I can tell you so many stories of how families are at odds, especially when somebody dies. People fight at funerals in the
Mm-hmm.
American black community.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'll pass the mic right to you, Israel, just for what have you seen in America
Mm.
compared to your home country?
Man, it's a heavy question, and thank you very much for allowing me the time to speak on a very important topic and discussion point. So, coming to America from a Haitian perspective, what I can say is that America has a lot of opportunities. And we don't really think about that. We only see the bad, but the reality is America is the country that everybody wants to go to. And so, really, as a Haitian, when I come here, it's very hard for certain families in the black communities to count their blessings because they sometimes feel that they can't catch a break. And whether it was from 200 years ago to whether it is from here, we noticed that, at least outsiders, we noticed that sometimes black African American families cannot take advantage of the opportunities at hand. And so for me, the question is, why aren't they able to see all of the opportunities that are around them? Right? Something is causing that veil of ignorance, that veil of not being able to see the opportunities that being in America affords you. And then two, you have this vicious cycle of self-fulfilling prophecies. The self-fulfilling prophecies of, I grew up in a broken family, therefore, what do I deserve? I deserve to also raise a broken family. And Jonathan, that's something we don't talk about enough. When we talk about wealth creation really starts with the family nuclei and grows to add on to the generational wealth. How are you supposed to build generational wealth when a father and a mother can't stay and raise their kids? What kind of education, what kind of value system is that kid going to grow up with? And how are they going to be able to break a vicious cycle that is multi-generational? By the way, there's multi-generational wealth, but there's also multi-generational curse. So the question is, before we even tackle generational wealth, what generational curse needs to be broken before we can build towards generational wealth? So that's me coming here in America. That's what I see in certain black families. Now, granted, thank God, not all black families are like that, but unfortunately, a larger number where that is the case.
Yeah, and something that I mean, myself, just my own anecdote. It's funny because I don't come from money, right? I come from, you know, poverty, right? It's my idea of making it in life was getting a job that paid me $40,000 at the post office and I had benefits. That was like, if I could just get that. But the point talking about the generational issues, something that is really a trip is that two people will come together, have a kid, and in order for the mother to get money from the state or from the government, she has to say, I don't know where the guy is at. Right. And it's like, it's insanity. Right. It just free. I mean, part of it, I mean, part of it is like I think, in my opinion, somewhat political to give someone free money. Just as I was raised, what I learned is that you give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifestyle. So if I just give someone money,
Mhm.
they're just not going to learn. Now
Mhm.
that's going to make me appear as this whole harsh, cold-blooded guy that's just the Uncle Tom. But the reality is someone who, comes from a broken family, poverty, all that traditional stuff you could think of in every 1990s movie about the ghetto.
Mhm.
If I could turn that around for myself and have a vision for my future, anybody else can.
Mhm.
But the key is accepting reality for what it is,
Mhm.
but not worse than what it is, right? And
Mhm.
so what I see is we have, from where I come from, we hate on success, right? It's always like, if I see you, Israel, I see you in a suit, I see you at Wharton, it's like, man, the only reason why he has that is because his dad or his mom.
Yeah.
It's like, just give the man respect and props for accomplishing something great.
Yeah.
It's this crabs in the barrel mentality to where people would much rather pay you in vengeance than they would in gratitude. And it is the most toxic environment to grow up in. Part,
Hmm.
part of, you know, I guess the appeal of that 90s movie gang culture was like you could overcome all those impossible odds.
Mhm.
The movies make it kind of romantic, and there's nothing romantic about it at all. But it's we just have a crab in the barrel mentality, and it's just a culture of low expectations. I had a friend, and I'm kind of ranting on, but he was talking about, no disrespect to any company, but accepting a BET quality, the BET standard, like something that's just like less. You just expect less from it, and I
Hmm.
mean, it's just a trip, but I don't want to, I guess,
No, yeah,
unload,
yeah. No,
the flood.
I get that, man. I get that. And, I'll give you my two personal anecdote, right? I came to the States and I want to help other Haitian people who are in the States. And so, going through this decision making process where I'm like, how can I substantially help people do better for themselves in the US? And so, what I started to do is I created a program centered around financial literacy and empowerment. Because the issue is not the fact that Haitian immigrants can't learn. Haitian immigrants can learn English. They can learn finance. They can learn financial literacy. They can get jobs. And so, to your point, Jonathan, it is what are we doing to support people who actually want better for themselves? Now, catch me when I say that. They have to want more for themselves first. Because to your point, man, it's just when people are given free stuff, we've learned historically they don't really take it seriously. They waste it and they become dependent. And when they become dependent and they do not get the same thing over, guess what? They're not going to work hard. In fact, they're going to find ways to take shortcuts, even if they're illegal. So what we started doing on my end is we put a platform together. We put financial literacy courses. We put the advertising out there. We let Haitian immigrants know that you're the best country in the world. If you want to change your life, then you're in the right place. B, we're going to give you tools and resources to take ownership of that change. And Jonathan, that's a word that people don't like to hear. I live my life in a way I take ownership for the good and the bad. I never blame luck. I never curse God. You know, I always ask myself, what could I have done better? What is the learning lesson and an objective here? Because clearly the problem is not the opportunity, the problem is me. And how can I be honest with myself to become a better version of me? And back to your point, just to tie it, I do feel like times like certain members of the black communities, we spend so much energy complaining. Oh, the white man did this to us. There are all these inequalities. There are racial tensions. Yes, those things do exist, but they don't have to define us. They don't have to define you. They don't have to define how you choose to raise your child. And that's, Jonathan, that's the problem that I have with certain members in the black communities that are using the plight of black people to advance their financial gain, to advance their social influence at the expense of hurting the black community, at the expense of keeping the black community chained, even if we're free. That's my problem.
Yeah, that's something I for sure want to tack into because what I've seen is that, coming from a household $30,000 or less in income, and was not an only child, by the way, the people that actually come from, let's just say, the soil, salt of the earth kind of people, aren't the ones out there doing the talking,
Mhm,
right? And that was something that I realized when I went to Atlanta and went to university, is that the people that were doing the more of the talking, the protesting, the advocating, doing the, I guess, the griping,
mhm.
it wasn't actually the people
Yeah,
that had boots on the ground,
yeah.
right? It was people that came from more of a middle class background, upper middle class background, and it's at the time it's like, it's like, because being black in America, it's like you can never be hard enough. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, you come from money? Oh no, I
Right.
can't, I can't vibe with you. But I mean, it's so many layers behind it. But I want to share two things um, with the group. So let me actually share this article from McKinsey. I'm not going to comb through this thing with a fine tooth comb,
Mhm.
but I'm just going to highlight this and read this verbatim and get to another point. Black consumers are younger, more plugged into smartphones, and more brand aware
Mhm.
than other groups.
Mhm.
And I can tell you, as a kid growing up, LA Unified and there's different schools in LA.
Mhm.
I mean, if you didn't have on the Carmelos that came out in '04, '05, the baby blue and the white, um, or
Mhm.
the white and the baby blue trim,
Mhm.
you didn't have Nike. I mean, you were laughed at, right? If you didn't have a fresh cut, part in the fade, you were laughed at. If you
Mhm.
had on Reebok, it's like, you were gonna have it tough,
Right.
right? And it's like we put our time into things. I won't say that don't matter because really and truly, if you tie yourself to an authority figure, it
Mhm.
does boost you up.
Mhm.
So it's not to necessarily just say, oh, we're doing it wrong, but it's just note that that's not the end all be all.
Right.
Um, and I'll even, one more thing I want to just read. This is from the Bureau of Labor, and I'll drop the links in the comment section. It says more than 35% of Black households' pre tax income falls between $12,000 and $37,000.
Yeah, that's shocking. That's very shocking. It's sad. It's shocking, but at the same time, it's not surprising. So there are a lot of problems when it comes to financial literacy and financial freedom. On one part, you have the financial literacy component. On another part, you have the skill set recalibration that needs to take place to actually improve your financial situation. And what I mean by that is the market pays what you're worth. I guess I'm worth 200K, but if my skill set is currently worth at 15K, I'm going to get 15K, right? So the question is then becomes okay, there's a large inequality between black communities and other communities. What can we do to bridge that gap? Well, number one, people in the black communities need to have the desire to change. Again, right? It is just if there's none that acceptance and a desire to change, nothing gets done. Number two, there needs to be more funding for financial literacy programs that can identify talent in the black communities, underdeveloped, to help them recalibrate their mindset and then their skill set. What do I mean by that? If as a kid I grew up in a broken home and at 12 years old I'm doing very well at school, but all I know is brokenness. How in the world am I going to be disposed in the disposition to learn and then go to college? Where my dad is locked up in jail for 30 years. There needs to be not only a recalibration of my skill set, but first of my mind. And so the question becomes, how can we have programs that can facilitate the re-education of the mind? The re-education of you're not a victim, you're a victor. You're not bound to your current circumstances. You create the future that you want. What you'll see, Jonathan, is a lot of the people in the black community who had a very rough upbringing, a lot of the times those who make it are those who decided to stop believing the lies on their own. And typically it's so much harder when you have to figure it out on your own than when you have a support system guiding you through the roadmap. I'm sure you didn't really have a roadmap. You figured it out yourself. It was a lot harder. You didn't have a mentor at 12, 13 years old say, Jonathan, I believe in you. You can do it. Jonathan, this is how you manage your debt ratio or going to college. This is how you apply for scholarships. No, we don't have that. And so for me, like that's where I'm getting at, John. It's just like, bro, how do we are also conscious on putting our time in people who want to change? How are we also empowering these people and teaching them, or at least letting them know which skill set do they need to be successful in the economy? Well, why would I tell a black kid all you can be is a janitor when we know janitors don't make more than 40K a year? You're a UPS driver, you don't make more than 55, 60K a year. You know, and that I think that's the beauty in the areas of opportunities that you yourself are into, right? Like you are in the space of financial literacy, you educate people, and I think that doing these programs like you're doing right now that are free resources and getting it out in front of the right people, I think is going to be a huge win for the black community. And on my end, what I'm trying to do, I'm doing the same thing for the Haitians in America. And so it really comes down to we each, as professionals, as leaders, you're an authority figure in the space. We each need to contribute and do our small part. And if we can all do that, right, we're not going to change the world. We're not going to change all the black communities in America, but we're going to change the life of certain black folks. And for me, that's a huge win.
Yeah, definitely. And something else that's interesting is that it's not just say blacks that are um, their communities are falling apart. I would say at large, American culture has been just say torpedoed.
Mhm.
Um, you know, the divorce is pretty common with American households. The the people put a higher value on youth than they do on the elders and their wisdom, right? Our pop culture has superseded our traditional culture, and it's like I would say everyone is being affected by this. Like it has to be insanely tough to raise a kid in a major city in America. There's so much pressure from Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, TV, telling your son to go out there, smoke marijuana all day, pop Xanax, pop Percocets, whatever pills they can, and getting your daughter to be promiscuous.
Mhm.
It is scary. Like, so respect to all the parents out there that still decided to raise healthy, mindful, and just well trained kids.
Mhm.
And I mean, we're down to the last couple minutes here, but it's like, from your opinion, I guess my suggestion, my kind of steps moving forward is people have to want to change, but I guess it's like, I mean, how do I, go against the grain with pop culture, right? If someone's on TV and on stage, because Coachella's going on right now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like Coachella is taking precedence over anything like this. And it's
Right.
like, how do you get someone interested in this? Because
Mm.
how do you make these topics juicy and interesting to people?
Hmm.
Maybe
It's a,
home training.
you know what, and I'll tell you what. You and I both work out. You and I both know what it takes to get a six pack. The reality is, it's not sexy, bro. Eating your greens every day is not sexy. Going to the gym at 5 a.m. every day is not easy. And so the reality is, in order to become great, you gotta have to do many things that aren't really desirable for a very long time. And I think the way you instill that in communities is start with the kids. Because think about it, bro. The adults are already corrupt. Because the way I see the human brain is a computer. When the wiring of a computer is starting, it's fresh. It can acquire, absorb information. As it gets more mature, there's certain decision patterns that are more and more well established. And so as we get older, we are more ingrained in our ways. And so now we have less flexibility. To answer your question is, we got to invest in the kids, because the kids are the one who have an open mind. The kids are the one who really don't know what's hard. Think about it. If every day you woke up at 5 a.m. when you were a child, now waking up at 5 a.m. is your norm. If a person spent the vast majority of their life waking up at 11 a.m. and now you tell them, sir, you're gonna have to wake up at 5 a.m. to be healthy and work out, they're not gonna do it. So for me, the answer personally is invest in the next generation. Recalibrate their world, recalibrate their mind, and help them recalibrate their skill set. And all of a sudden, you have amazing people doing amazing things. But the preparation began when they were 4, when they were 5, when they were 6, when they were 7. And it's sad to say, but that's the only way to do it, bro. Because if those things are not easy, they're not sexy, and unless someone is willing to take full ownership, which is less likely, you got to start with the kids early.
Definitely. And it's like, in my, I guess, opinion, is that I do think it is a little bit harder, for brothers and sisters in major cities, right? If I say New York, LA,
Mhm.
yes. But what I've noticed is that when I spent my time in the South, much more, much better reception to just things that I was doing. So this is not to put anybody's situation down. We have both been there, done that, wrote the song about that. This is an inspirational
Mhm.
message.
Mhm.
So if you guys do have comments, concerns, or you want to chime into the conversation, you can send us private messages, or even drop comments, like, spread, share, whatever you feel is best. But that's our show for the week, ladies and gentlemen. So, Israel, do you have any other final words for us?
Well, I will say this. I believe that God has blessed us with a wonderful life. God has a wonderful plan for each and every single one of us. And I believe that it is our responsibility to write the book that we want to write. I refuse to accept the notion that I've been dealt with bad hands, therefore I'm going to let life write my notebook for me. No, we are in control. So, my message to you is take control of your life. Change the things that need to change and write your own story, and write a story that you can be proud of. Write a story when people look at you, they're like, that's a woman that chased her dream. That's a man who stayed on the course. That is someone who made an impact in his or her or their communities. And that is the message today. And I think, Jonathan, that's what you're trying to build. That's what you're trying to get out and inspire people. But I'm excited, bro. Like when I talk about it, I'm like, how can you not be excited? We woke up today. In Haiti, people didn't wake up
Yeah.
today, bro. People woke up and they were kidnapped. We're here today and we can make a difference. So let's make a difference in our lives first so we can then impact other people. Man, I get so excited about that. But thank you, Jonathan, for all the work that you do. It's a tremendous pleasure to always be on the podcast.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gents. So we'll see you guys next week. Take care and have a good one.